And so, hello everybody. We're going to start off. Push this a little bit. You can start in any position you wish. You can start seated, you could start standing, you could start supine. If you're going to be supine, it'd be great if you could please have some type of cushion underneath your legs so that your knees are kind of kept bent so that you can keep your low back flat on the floor while you're doing the practice, because it's very hard to breathe if you have a big curve in your low back. If you are, same applies if you're seated or standing, you want to find a relationship between your pelvis and your lumbar spine that does not hyperextend the back of your thoracic diaphragm. And the way you do that if you're seated, remember, is that you notice if you're sitting on the back of your sit bones or the front of your sit bones. And if you find that you're on either the front or the back, then go ahead, and if you're on the back, roll forward until you feel that you're on the transition point between the front of the sit bones and the back of the sit bones. You should be on that transition point. Once you found that transition point, you should be able to get a really nice big breath. Now, if you are standing, you're still going to want that same relationship between your pelvis and your lumbar spine. So if we've done this together, I'll just cue you through it. If we haven't, you might want to try seated and use the transition point in the seated, and then come to office hours or something and find out about standing. It's a question you can bring to office hours and we can talk about it further. So if you haven't talked about it yet and you haven't done a lot of Qigong or something like that in your life, then go ahead and start either seated or supine. And otherwise, find that nice relationship between your lumbar spine and your pelvis. And I want you to begin breathing from the bottom of the pelvis up to the top of the chest, and emptying yourself from the top of your chest down to the bottom of your pelvis. Remembering that the most important instruction when you practice breathing is to let it be as easy as possible, to let it be relaxed, to let it be something that is softly expansive, almost as if you're not doing anything yourself, as if you're just going to allow the universe to breathe through you. Remember that the only muscle that we need to move in order for us to get our best breath is the thoracic diaphragm. Bring your mind to the borders of the diaphragm where you know it's attached to the bottom of the sternum, the bottom of the rib cage, the transverse process of L1, and down the front of the lumbar spine all the way to L4, which is level with the navel and the top of the hip. Let's notice the sensations we have there at the borders of the diaphragm. As you inhale and exhale, notice the sensations. Notice that breathing produces changing sensations at the borders of the diaphragm, that inhalation feels different from exhalation. Remember that the sensations of inhalation are the sensations of contraction, the sensations of exhalation are the sensations of relaxation. If your tongue is not already on the roof of your mouth, let's go ahead and put it there. Put your tongue flat on the roof of your mouth. Swallow and make your suction seal. And keep breathing from the bottom of the pelvis up to the top of the chest, and emptying yourself from the top of the chest down to the bottom of your pelvis. And we're going to allow the breath to enter into the body. At first, at L4, we're going to let it roll up the front of the lumbar spine and roll from the back of the pelvis toward the front, and also along the bottom edges, along the borders of the diaphragm, along the bottom of the ribs, bottom edge of the rib cage. And I want you to try something that's a little bit of a variation on what we've been doing, but I'm finding that it makes things very easy. So I'm going to try to describe this to you. Imagine that as the breath comes up the spine, it is going to go around the bottom edges of the rib cage toward the front of the body on each side. And it will meet at those two beads of breath will meet at your sternum. But there's also going to be a wave of contraction that moves from the back of the body toward the front of the body. And we just want to allow that wave to pass through the muscle belly of the diaphragm. But those muscle fibers on the posterior part of the diaphragm, those muscle fibers climb right up into the central tendon of the diaphragm. And then while they are going up towards the top, they also are what grabs the lower esophageal sphincter, initiating that pull down on the esophagus that initiates all the motion in the floor of the mouth, and therefore all the diaphragms in the head. What I want you to really notice right now is that as those beads of breath come around the front of the ribs, they initiate a wave of contraction that goes from the front of the diaphragm up to the top of the dome on the front. So, and that wave passes through the muscle fiber more effectively than it does the central tendon. So see if you can feel the wave come around, and as it comes around, it comes up the front of the diaphragm as well. So the last thing you'll feel fill is the front of the diaphragm filling up from the bottom to the top, and then right at the top of the central tendon. It's kind of as if the wave from the front to the back gets slowed down when it hits that top tendon at the top of the dome of the diaphragm. It gets sort of muffled there. But the wave of contraction moving through the muscle coming up from the bottom of the ribs around the front of the diaphragm sort of fills out the front of the diaphragm. See if you can feel the front half fill just like a half a step behind the back. And we'll talk about that more, but I thought I'd throw that out there for some of you veterans to see if you can play with it. I think you'll find that it makes a very easy breath that gives you a lot of negative pressure right near your cisterna chyli. So practice this. Bottom of the pelvis to the top of the chest, and emptying from the top of the chest down to the bottom of the pelvis. Now let's bring our mind into the abdomen and feel the internal organs. Notice that breathing produces changing sensations of motion inside the abdomen. Notice that these changing sensations feel very similar to the sensations you would feel if you were standing in the tide. That when a wave comes in with inhalation, it pressurizes your organs and smushes them toward the pelvic floor. And when that wave relaxes, the organs lift up underneath it. They get drawn towards the head. They wave like seaweed in tide. Go ahead and start arm and leg breathing if you haven't done it. You don't have to do it all the time, but if you find you want to amplify sensations for a moment, go ahead and just do some arm and leg breathing. Engage the palms, spread the fingers and the palms, lift the toes, squeeze all the muscles of the arch as you inhale, and when you exhale, relax everything. And notice how much the organs will move the more deeply you relax with each exhalation, and the more completely you allow for the wave of contraction moving through the diaphragm to mature. See if you can make the choice to allow more motion to happen in your internal organs. See how much you can let your organs move. See if you can allow your pelvic floor to go along with your organs as the wave of contraction moves as a wave of relaxation, the wave of drawing moves all the way to the pelvic floor. Let the pelvic floor lift at the end of exhalation. Let it drop and initiate inhalation. When it drops, it fills your pelvis almost immediately. When it drops, it sort of sets things in motion. It sort of stirs the pond already. So when the breath wave really kicks in at L3, L4, it's more like you're just kind of tapping a wheel from behind to keep it rolling forward. It's already been set in motion by the falling of your pelvic floor, the passive fall of the pelvic floor, filling your pelvis. Now let's bring the mind to the shoulder girdle and notice that the shoulder girdle lifts as the wave of contraction matures through the body, increasing the pressure in the chest, filling the chest with fluid and air. Tongue is on the roof of the mouth. Suction seal is in place. What I want you to do is even though your suction seal is already in place, I want you to, in a moment, I'm going to have you swallow. But I want you to notice the way that your swallow happens. I want you to notice what your tongue does inside your mouth when you swallow. So go ahead and swallow. Notice what your tongue did. Now I'm going to ask you to try to allow your tongue to do something a little more specific. But we're still going to try to allow this to happen, not force it. So I want you to feel the tip of your tongue as you start to swallow. That will have the most pressure on it. And as you swallow, the tip will have most pressure, but there will be a wave of most pressure. Let's see how it goes. A wave of most pressure that goes from the behind the teeth toward the back of the throat, like an inchworm kind of. So see if you can, in a moment, we're going to try to swallow again, and we're going to see if we can swallow in such a way that we feel a wave of pressure, a wave of impulse. Feel it move across the palate from the front to the back. And imagine how if you had food or liquid in your mouth, that would actually kind of squish it towards the back of your throat. Once you have that, what I want you to do is you're going to take a big breath in, and then you're going to let it out. Just dive into relaxation at the back of the diaphragm. And then when you get to the bottom of that exhalation, you're going to swallow. And when the wave hits the back of the throat, you're going to inhale. And you're going to let that breath come right up your spine and into your head, gliding your head backwards, resolving any kind of head forward posture, stacking your cervical vertebra auspiciously. So now your suction seal is in place, your awareness is at the front of the throat and under the chin. And we are tapping into the sensations, the tugging sensations, the pulling sensations present at the front of the throat and underneath the chin as we inhale. We're going to let the whole lower jaw get pulled by that pulling sensation, and that will carry, that will cause a flux in the floor of the mouth that will relate directly to the center of your head, where you find your hypothalamus and your pituitary. I'm going to flood that area with cooling illumination as you inhale. As you inhale through the floor of your mouth. Like you could breathe right through the floor of your mouth, right to the center of your head. And as the lower jaw goes back, so does the tongue, and the tongue carries with it the palate. The tongue is suctioned both to the roof of the mouth and the floor of the mouth, and helps them both come backward on inhalation. Feel the breath come up the back of your head, neck, and shoulders as the roof of your mouth is now participating. It's drawn into resonance with all the other diaphragms because of its sticky relationship with your tongue. Suction relationship, really. Suction relationship with your tongue. And now the roof of the nasal cavity, feel the roof of the nasal cavity move. Let it get drawn down on inhalation. Let it lift back up on exhalation. Feel a flood of cooling illumination between the two hemispheres. And now let's let the cheeks participate. Notice that when you inhale, your cheeks get drawn in towards your teeth, and when you exhale, they release your teeth. And then your eardrums, your temples, eyeballs. So if you haven't been doing arm and leg breath, this might be a good time to start doing it. So we're going to start to look at some movement. And to do this, we're going to, I'll show you, I'll grab the book, remind me at the end, we'll grab the book off the shelf at the end of class. But we're going to use some exercises from a book by Swami Satchidananda. And so if you think your arms might get tired, or if your, let me just say this, if your arms get tired, give yourself a rest. If you want, you can take a stack of pillows. I'll give you a second to set this up if you want, and set them on a tabletop in front of you and sit at the tabletop. But I want your arms to be about level with your shoulders, so I want you to sit so that your arms could kind of rest really lightly on top of the pillows, just so you don't have to work as hard. So if you find that this is causing you to strain or grab in your shoulders, then you should go ahead and use the assistance. If not, you can be in any comfortable upright posture. A chair is perfectly fine. Chair is perfectly fine. And we're just going to look at some of the movements. And we're going to look at it with the regular breathing pattern that most of us are used to, or else the direct opposite of that at times. But still the same kind of pattern where there's inhale, do one thing, exhale, do another thing. Like exhale to flex or something like that. We're going to do this a little differently. But we'll start off with the normal breathing pattern. So what I want you to do is be in a position either seated. You can do this supine too. You just put your arms right up above your shoulders, right? Find the place where it's the easiest place to be neutral. You'll find that the blood runs out of them fairly, and you may need to rest them for a moment. That's perfectly fine. So we're just going to try and do a couple of these exercises with the arms and a couple of them with the feet. And then we'll look at the two types of movement. So the first one, and in all of the ones we're going to be doing with our arms, we're going to basically have a long low back, and the arms are going to be out like this. Remember, a couple pillows or blocks or something underneath here, so that I don't want you to be working so hard to hold your shoulders up like this that they drift up, right? And that you compensate. So I want you to instead just have the arms out like this, and maybe start by letting them hang for a moment. And then what I want you to do is notice what they feel like if they're just hanging. And then what I want you to do is I want you to engage this diaphragm. So let this diaphragm go from floppy to engaged. See how it's engaged? It's like a catcher's mitt, right? And so I want you to just squeeze every muscle of your upper extremity, the same amount of squeeze in every muscle of your upper extremity, okay? Same amount of squeeze. And notice how when you match the squeeze on the two sides of your body, that somehow it kind of helps redistribute the weight and doesn't make your hands feel quite as heavy out there so far away from you. It kind of brings them back into the system. So we're going to start like this, and then we're going to do an inhale, and we're going to spread the fingers and the palms even more. I still don't really want to do this, right? I still don't prefer to not hyperextend, but we're going to spread them more, and then we're going to exhale, and we're going to wrap the fingers around the thumb. So we're going to inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Let's do 9 of those, okay? Try. On your own breath. Good. Take a big breath in and fill your arms up. And then lower them for a second and rest, okay? If you have pillows, you can let them rest on the pillows, okay? Now we're gonna do that same thing, but we're gonna do it a little bit differently. I want you to notice where you felt fatigue anywhere in your structure when we did that, okay? Just notice that. And then now we're gonna do the same exercise again, except we're gonna have a different breathing pattern. I'm gonna show you what that breathing pattern is gonna be. So instead of inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, what we're gonna do is we're gonna inhale and squeeze our thumb. So we're gonna squeeze every muscle of our upper extremity and inhale, but we're going to squeeze the thumb a little more. And then as we exhale, we're gonna let the hand open. We're gonna let the hand open, and then we're gonna finish the exhale, and then we're going to inhale and spread the fingers. And I'm really filling the underside of my palm. When I exhale, I'm gonna let that pressure out until my fingers are wrapped around my thumb again, and then I'm gonna inhale. Squeezing every muscle of my upper extremity. So if I'm doing it like this, I'm going to inhale, exhale. When I'm ready, I'll inhale, exhale. When I'm ready, I'll inhale, exhale. Okay, let's try that. Okay, so arms out in front. Really good idea to use a pillow for this because it's more important that you feel that symmetrical squeeze in every muscle than it is that you get a better workout, okay? More important to us to feel the light engagement. That's what will do much more for building center and avoiding strain. So if you're not already going, go on your own breath, but you're going to inhale as you spread your fingers. You're going to slowly exhale as you wrap your fingers around your thumb, and when your breath gets all the way to the bottom of your pelvis, you squeeze your thumb. And then when you exhale, you're going to open your hands and you're going to empty the pressure out of the back of the hand. When you get it all the way empty, you're going to fill the underside of the arm with breath. See if I can see anybody doing this. Let me see. That's okay. Okay, there you are, David. I'll watch you for a second. Good. All right. All right. Oh, that's a good thing, Charlotte. I like that thing, whatever that is. That looks like a good prop for this experience. Okay, now we're going to look at a different exercise. It's not that much different. We're just going to probably do a couple hand ones and then a couple foot ones for now. But I think these are both really important. So how did everybody do? Do you feel the difference in the two types of motion? The difference in doing this as an inhale, exhale versus inhale, right? Everybody get that? You feel the difference? Thumbs up, thumbs down. No, didn't get that, Grace. Thumbs up for Charlotte. Tatiana, what about you? I don't see you. You got it, Dave? Okay. All right. All right. Well, let's see if we can apply this same principle to the next exercise, and we can come back and address the first one. And this one, I'm not the best at this, but basically we're going to use two hand positions again. We're going to use this one And then we're going to use this one, like they do for Kung Fu. That's really hard. I think this is a really hard thing to do with your hand, to make it go straight up and down. I find that very challenging. So we're going to use this one and this one. Notice that I'm not doing this and I'm not doing this. I'm keeping my fingers straight. So it's okay if you need to stop right here, or even here, or here, right? You don't have to, it's hard. Okay, so you don't have to go there. Find your healthy range of motion and work from there, and it will gradually expand. So really recommend the pillows under the arms for these. If you've got a hot tub or a pool or something like that, well then that's a great place to do this, because then even in a bathtub where you could just let your arms float on the surface of the water in the lake, in the stream, because then you can really like kind of make sure it's even. You're not straining right here at all. Everything's just even. So we're going to have the fingers flat like this, and we're going to pressurize the hand. Now I'm going to empty the top of the arm. I'm emptying here as the wave, as the breath is coming down my body, it's coming out the top of my arm, and when it gets all the way down to the bottom of my pelvis, I'm going to inhale. And I make the hand just, maybe it only goes like a half a centimeter more, but it goes there with the kind of stiffness and rigidity, okay? And then as I exhale, I let the hand come back down here, emptying deep into this wrist, right? Emptying along the bottom of the arm into the armpit, all the way down to the bottom of the pelvis, and then I'm going to inhale in this part of the arm. You can even see how my arm actually looks like it gets a little bit longer when I do that. It does. And then when I come back, remember I have to exhale, and then I have to really exhale there. Right, all the way down the bottom of the pelvis, and then I'm going to inhale. It gives it a kind of stiffness, or, it makes it so it's not, like if I just pull it like this, oh, it's floppy, right? If I do this and that's not floppy, right? You can see that. That's not floppy, right? Because I'm using the pressure to give it structure. It's exciting. It's like a party favor, right? So let's do some of those. I know we didn't do the old way of breathing. Let's just hop right in, right? The old way would be either you'd inhale, exhale, or you'd exhale, inhale, exhale. Doesn't matter. You could do either of those. But we're going to hop right ahead because we want to have some time for questions too. So we'll start here, and you're going to do this on your own breath. Ready? So we're going to inhale. And I'm going to empty the back of the hand, down the fingers, knuckles, into the wrist, up the forearms. Exhale through the elbows, the top of the arms, into the top of the shoulder. And then I'm going to inhale up the underside of the arm. As I exhale, I let the pressure out, and my hand just goes toward the negative pressure. I'm emptying into the wrist, at the front of the wrist, down into the back of the elbow, the underside of the armpit, and then fill up the top. Remember, you're doing this on your own breath, finding in your own healthy range of motion. It doesn't have to be as much as mine, and certainly doesn't have to be like the Beijing Wushu team. Which is a lot more perpendicular than mine will probably ever be. But we try. So fill up at the end range of motion. And feel how that gives your fingers a kind of structural integrity in that end range of motion. Let's do 2 more and rest. I'm exhaling, I'm exhaling, I'm exhaling, then I'm going to inhale. I'm exhaling, I'm exhaling, I'm exhaling, I'm exhaling. Emptying does most of the motion. The inhale is just a little bit of the end range. And then as you exhale, let's just bring the arms down and rest. Okay, so now, did everybody feel how that could kind of give their fingers a little kind of structure at the end range of motion when you inhaled into them? Thumbs up or down? What do we got? Yes. David. How about it, Grace? Not so much yet? Questions are coming soon. Questions are coming soon. I don't see anybody else, so. All right, so we'll move forward. Let's do feet. My feet are kind of dirty. I gotta warn you, I just came back from running Rama. I have some mud on me. A bit of mud on me. Hold on. So for this one could also be done on your back if you wanted. These couple of ones that we're going to do, we're just doing a couple of them because I just want to introduce to you. I know a number of you guys have hand things. And so these sort of very simple motions are really good for moving lymph out of your hands, right? And really engaging all the diaphragms of the upper extremity and lower extremity. I'll probably try to include a couple of these from time to time from the what's called the Palamuktasana series. All right, so here I am. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have my feet on the ground like I am standing on the floor. That's good. So, walk a little bit. So, can you see my feet okay? All right. I think you can see them okay.
They're pretty dark.
They're pretty dark, okay. Maybe I should face the other direction. I'll face this way. Oh yeah. Okay, better? Better? Okay, that's better. All right, so I'll do one at a time. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the toes, and we're going to curl the toes down, and then we're going to lift the toes up. I'm going to have a right angle at my ankle. My knee is straight. I have a right angle there, right? Like I'm standing on the floor. And so that's not going to change. What's going to change is that I'm going to lift my toes, and then I'm going to flex my toes. I'm going to lift my toes, and I'll flex my toes. So it's very similar to what we were doing with our hands. Okay? And let's just go ahead and do a couple of those in the way that we're used to working with the breath during exercise, which is kind of a which is a little I guess you'd say less complicated, but I don't think it's as effective. So you can either inhale, exhale, or you can exhale, inhale, exhale. It doesn't really matter. Just choose one, and let's do 9, however you want to do it. Either exhaling, inhaling, or inhaling, exhaling. Up to you. So let's do 9 on your own breath. I don't know how many that was. I forgot. I lost count. But I think that's enough to give you an idea. And now I want you to compare that to doing it this other way. It's slower to begin with, but what we're going to do is I'm going to pressurize my feet. And then I'm going to exhale and I'm going to curl my toes with a right angle at my ankles. I'm going to curl my toes, right? And then when I've got my breath all the way to the bottom of my pelvis, I'm going to curl my toes even more as I inhale and put pressure down the front part of my legs. And then as I exhale, I let my toes uncurl and I let them actually keep coming up towards me as I let all the pressure out of my legs. I let all the pressure out of my legs, all the way down into my toes, right? All the way into these joints right here. And I'm going to inhale at the back. And feel that pressure push my toes into an even more lifted position. And then as I'm exhaling, I let them curl. I let them curl as I exhale. I empty into the bottom of my, into here. Empty this joint right across here. Exhale right there to get the most curl. And then I'm going to inhale down the front and squeeze, or up the front and squeeze. Let the pressure out, let the toes uncurl, let them uncurl. Exhale deep into this MTC joint right here. MTP joint. And then I'm going to fill up the back. So let's just do those. Let's do some of those on our own breath until I tell you to stop, okay? So go ahead on your own breath. Remember, you're using the filling of your whole body to accentuate the motion that was started by the emptying, by the emptiness. You're going to use the filling of your body to support the structure of your body. You're going to use the pressure to create structure in your body. And as you do this, see if you can feel a ring-like sensation on the bottom of your foot. Feel if you can feel a ring-like sensation on the bottom of your foot. Feel it emerge. That ring-like sensation, I'm going to feel it around here. That is the diaphragm. That's the diaphragm of the arch of your foot. See if you can feel it. Now feel like there's a ring right through here. Okay? I mean, an elliptical ring, rather narrow elliptical ring. But see if you can feel that ring of structure in your foot. This is just a really great thing to develop a consciousness of. Now, let's take a rest and just check your sensations. See what your feet feel like now. See if you can feel a fuzzy disc shape of sensation emerging in each arch. That sensation is the sensations of the diaphragm in your foot. It's very exciting. All right, so now let's do, he made an appearance. Is a nepping. Okay, now we're going to do the ankle too. So I'm gonna have the flexion extension happen at the ankle as well. So I'm going to fill my feet with pressure. And then as I let the pressure out of the back of my body, actually let me do it like this. We're going to curl first. And as I let the pressure out of the back of my body, all the way down to the bottom of my pelvis, down to my feet, it's going to pull my feet into this pointed position, this plantar flexion. Then I'm going to fill the front of my body. And I really want to see if I can allow that wave of contraction to mature fully through every diaphragm of my body. Even though I'm not taking in any more air, I'm still going to be moving fluid if the wave is still maturing. Oh, sorry, I want to come up a little higher. So I'm going to exhale, empty, 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 and then I'm going to fill the front from the bottom to the top. Now I'm letting that pressure out of the top and letting it out of the top all the way down. I'm going to let the emptiness of the front of my body keep pulling my feet towards me. Then I'm going to fill up the back, reaching through the heels. I let that pressure out and my foot naturally goes back to neutral. And if I keep emptying it, it goes to pointed, and then I'm going to inhale and go further. So let's see if you can do this. Start with the toes, keep emptying, keep emptying, keep emptying, keep emptying, and then I fill up the back to go further. Empty the back, empty the back, empty the back. So let's do this on our own breath. Let's try to just do these until, if you want something behind yourself, this is also something you could do with your legs up on the wall, by the way. Again, you might find that after a little bit of time, after you do a number of reps of these, you might find that the blood is not getting out to your feet as effectively as it is coming back. So you may want to occasionally bring them down the wall and rest them a little bit and then put them back up. But generally speaking, when you're doing this, you want your legs out in front of you. You can have hands behind you to support you if you want, or you can just sit supported. You still want to find the transition between the front and the back of the sit bones so you'll be able to breathe. On the wall is a great idea, right? So this is a really great thing for people with any kind of venous stasis or anything like that. Any kind of swelling in the legs at all, varicosities, any of that, okay? So on your own time, we're going to give everybody a Fortes moment here, even though she's not here today. And then rest. If you want, put your hands behind yourself to support yourself if you're sitting like I am. But take a rest and notice the sensations you feel in your legs. See if that fuzzy disc shape in your feet hasn't become more activated. Let me go grab you this book so you can see what this looks like. So this is a book by Swami Satchidananda, and these exercises are the very first ones called the Pawanmuktasana series. I've never actually read the introduction here, but I think it's a good idea, and it'll tell you about the base position and the rest. The breath is instructed differently in this book than I'm instructing it. And that's okay. You can try it both ways and see which way you feel like you're getting the best motion of lymph, right? And trust that, if you find that the other way, that the way that Swami Satchidananda is describing it gives you the best motion of lymph for now, use that and then revisit what I'm talking about later. I actually, I have a copy of this book in my office if you want to check it out. Asana, Prana, Mudra, and Bandha. But I think it'll be good for us to take a look at all of the exercises in this series. Maybe one of these classes we'll just go through them without doing the other part of the breathing practice. Well, let me know. Give me some feedback and let me know. Let me unmute you all for a moment here, so we have some time to answer questions. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Can I make one request when we ask questions? And I am perfectly okay with the question taking longer if you do this, is that remember when you are going to speak, we're going to even practice breathing as we speak. So we'll inhale. And then we'll talk and we'll talk and we'll talk and we'll talk and we'll talk until we are all the way out of air or we finish what we had to say. And then when we get there, we are going to all wait for you to take your next breath. And then talk again. So let's see if we can make that part of our practice, because why not? Okay, go ahead, Charlotte.
So I had a sensation. I don't think it was oval or circular.
Okay.
In the arch of my foot, but it was more pronounced when I did the floor and had my legs up the wall.
Okay, good. Good. Well, it will, having your legs on the wall, gravity will assist you in moving the lymph out of your legs, so it may help clarify the when it moves the congestion. It probably helps clarify the sensation, and also just the more you do it. So there are exercises in that book that are for the hands. There's some for the elbows. There's some for the shoulder. And it's a really interesting thing, because as you go through each joint, I think that these exercises are kind of a great open, like an open secret. They give you some really, they can put you in touch with some very advanced, sounds so weird, but kind of advanced yogic skills, because they're integrating your peripheral diaphragms with your central diaphragms, with your thoracic diaphragm, etc. So, so they're giving you like the good stuff in the Introductory Beginners series. A lot of people see these exercises. When I first saw these exercises, I thought, oh, well, those are really cool, but I don't really need those. And then I found that I was not at all correct about that. That they actually really kind of have played a really important role in my understanding these diaphragms. So I want to encourage you all to check them out. And as you you start with the hands, and then you do elbows, and then you do shoulders and stuff, you'll feel each diaphragmatic group come alive, and you'll integrate these diaphragms in the arms and legs with the stuff here, and it gives you kind of a freakish strength and stability. So did I answer the question?
I think you did, yeah. When I'm on my back and my legs are up the wall, the lymph is being drained more, and that's probably why I have the sensation more.
More sensation, for sure. And just as you use the muscles, you wake them up, right? You wake them up, and then I think you'll also find that if you go back and practice breathing afterwards, you'll probably feel a lot of motion still happening in your peripheral diaphragms without having to try to engage anything. Any other questions, comments?
Could you hold that book up again, please?
Yes.
Let's see it.
You can always call the office and, or,
To the other side.
oh, the other side, this side?
No, no, there, to the other side of you. There, that's fine.
Okay.
I got it. I just tried to get a screenshot of it, and my window, my picture was always in there.
Did everybody
I
get
got it.
pictures? It's a really good book. It's a really good book. It's the only book that I know of where the person writing it is actually talks about the different channels and nadis of contact with the energy body that the yogasana can open up for you. It's very it's a great text.
Is this the one that you made Xeroxes out of?
I did.
Okay, I had those Xeroxes. I would like somewhere. I'd like to buy the book. Is it available on Amazon?
Oh yes. I
Uh-huh.
strongly encourage it. That's why I'm holding it up. But yes, it's true. I do give people a photocopy of the exercise.
Okay, so
I give them
the author is Swami Satyananda, is that right?
Satyananda. Yes,
All right. I'll try to get it.
I think it's a great idea.
Because,
And-
yeah, I mean, just getting those separate Xeroxes without any context was rather frustrating.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. But
Okay,
anyway, I will get the
then I
book.
encourage you to get the book.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Don't get the Xeroxes from my office. And but they're free. They're free Xeroxes.
Yes.
It's just homework. People needed homework. So now, the other question I have for you all is, did you understand? Let me get a little screen share to happen here. And hold on, I need this. When I was talking about this thing at the beginning, when I was talking about the bead of breath traveling around the bottom, can you see my little arrow?
Yes. Yes.
So when I was talking about that, how the beads come around the sides and go toward the front, was anybody able to feel greater ease of breathing when I explained that?
Yeah.
Cool. Let me, with a picture now, tell you what I'm talking about. And I think that there's a number of reasons why this is wonderful. Obviously, the most of which is that it has actually made my breathing easier and more and fuller. So when the wave comes up the spine and it starts to spread out at L1 and it travels around the edges here, the wave is also moving up the spine and then forward through all of this muscle belly on the back. It's coming around, it's moving, it's spreading out, going through all these muscle fibers up the back. But then as it gets to the central tendon, now you don't have muscle fibers to move through, you have tendon, which will still engage, but it's not going to have that wave of contraction. You will feel, you will get a wave go through the connective tissue, but it's not a wave of contraction. So I think it kind of gets a little muted there. The sensation gets a little muted as you get to the central tendon as the wave comes from the front to the back. But these beads that go around the sides, what I feel like, and tell me if you guys are able to feel this, is that as they go around the sides, they are simultaneously causing ripples that go from the bottom of the diaphragm up towards the central tendon from the front of the body. Does that make sense what I'm saying? And so
Mhm.
it kind of comes around like water washing around a big boulder in the water, and it kind of washes the back on both sides. And I feel like when I do that, I get all this, like the wave comes around and starts to move up, and I get even more motion here. And then I feel like this little area right in here is able to engage even a little bit more. Pulls this one area down a little more. The big advantage of that is what? It's basically, this is where your cisterna chyli is, right? And as this wave of contraction that comes up from the beads traveling around the front, as it comes up the front of the diaphragm, and the wave is coming from the back, from the back, right? You have the wave that comes from the back that has to go through the central tendon, right? You also have a wave that comes around from the bottom of the ribs, spreading up towards the central tendon on the front. And I find that it really more fully engages this area right here, where the cisterna chyli is. This is where all the lymph from the lower body, arms and legs, and abdomen collect in order to travel
Oops,
to the
you
left.
froze.
Oh, did I? Can you see me yet?
You're
You're
frozen.
moving for me.
It has to go from cisterna chyli up to here at the left thoracic duct. So,
I missed that. You were frozen for a minute for me.
Oh.
It must have been my internet.
so as the wave is coming around, it's initiating a ripple of contraction from the bottom of the diaphragm up the dome. At the same time that the wave that started here on the back, on the spine, traveling from the front, it has to travel through this. This isn't contractile tissue here, so it's just not going to be the wave is not going to be as intense. It will meet, those two waves will meet each other right here, where the cisterna chyli is. That's a great thing. So play with that. I don't know, did you were able to feel that, Charlotte?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And that made
Yeah.
it easier. How about you, David? Not yet?
You're muted. You're muted.
I found something different, but I'm not sure exactly. I could put a finger on exactly what it was.
Okay, well, I want you to play with it and let me know. And how about you, Grace?
I'm playing catch up here because I missed a number of weeks. I think that had something to do with it. And so I found myself, looking for pillows and,
Oh, well,
trying to figure out what's going on. And
what we should probably do is we should probably say for this class, be prepared, because we be prepared to be able to lie down or have a seat or stand. And so maybe you need pillows, just, see if you can have like, some pillows or something handy so that if, and we'll try to let people
Add
know.
that to the description.
Yeah, we'll add that to the description, to just, if you have any kind of props or pillows, and it might be a good idea to bring them to this particular class so that we can, we have some flexibility, okay? Because there's more action in these classes, so, all right? Any other questions?
I got confused because I didn't have myself set up
Oh, I'm sorry.
as a seated. I was supine,
Uh-huh.
and so I didn't. When you did the arms, I wasn't sure if I should just have my arms lying next to me supine, or if I should have switched and gotten. I didn't have the pillows together to rest. How do you rest your arms on the pillows if you're sitting up? What do you,
So let me show you what I mean. So for example, let's say I have a tabletop in front of me, and like I could sit at the kitchen table or something, right? And then I put some pillows on the kitchen table.
oh,
Let's imagine that there's a pillow here. You got some pillows on the kitchen table, and that so I would need another one. So I have some pillows on the kitchen table, and then I can, instead of having to work so hard in the shoulder, which I find that people just end up compromising their structure to hold their arms out this high. I don't think that that's too useful right now. I think
so we
what's,
could be sitting in a chair, in a regular chair
you could
at
be
a table.
regular chair at a table. I just don't have anything like that in my house. So, so imagine that my pillows are on the table and I just allow my arms. I can mostly be holding up my arms here. Even having this a little tiny bit of contact underneath them will help take the strain out of the shoulder. And if you need to put more weight down, that's just fine. I think what's far more important is trying to have a symmetrical amount of squeeze on the two sides of your body in every muscle. The same amount of squeeze in every muscle except at the end ranges, right? You're gonna
So we start off supine and then change to sitting at a table.
Okay.
yes, or in this case, the other thing you could do is stay supine. But if you're asking how you could do it at a table, then you can do it, or you're asking how to do it seated and have your arms supported. That's
No.
one.
I
If
got
I'm-
that part. But when we start in the beginning, we're supine.
Right, if we're supine, imagine I have something under my legs. You can do this from supine position too. So you could do this, for example, in bed at night if you wanted to, right? Or in the morning. So I just didn't have my arms directly over my shoulders.
Oh,
Really, right? So I can just be like this, and then I can do all the exercises on my back. I still would prefer if you had something underneath your knees so that your low back could be flat,
mhm.
right? So, I don't know, but you get what I'm saying, right? So if
Yes.
it's right like this is going to be the most neutral position. If I'm like this, it will be hard to hold. If I'm like this, it'll be hard right on top. Still, what you're probably going to find is that you're going to have to rest your hands every now and then because they'll probably get tired of being straight up in the air like that for a long period of time. But it's fine to rest.
So in general, how do you do the beginning exercises if you're seated at a table? You just seated and you do the breathing. You don't have to be lying down.
No,
It
you
would
don't
be
have to be
easier for
lying
me to
down.
just have the pillows on the table and rest my arms. But I thought we needed to be lying down the way we were in the class when we came to your studio.
You don't have to be lying down.
Okay,
You
Okay.
definitely don't. Like in these classes, you can be seated, supine, or standing.
okay.
I often teach them from the seated position because it just helps me stay focused better. But if I was doing them and I wanted to do them seated, standing too, but it might be distracting. What you really want to focus on is the breath in the arms. You don't want to have to be working so hard to hold your arms up.
So if you're seated in the chair, how do you do the leg exercises when you're got your
Well,
head?
you're gonna have to move out of the chair.
Okay,
And you can do the leg
Okay.
exercises in two ways. You can do the leg exercises the way I was doing them, which is seated like this, you know. I mean, you could even do these lying supine too. If I was supine, I would just want to get the pillow out from under my legs and then I would do them supine, right?
right.
the other way you can do these is if your legs are up on a wall. Like I saw some people had this. And they don't even have to be on a wall. Honestly, they could just be right over. It's the same thing. You just want to stack them right over your hips. So, hold on.
Anjani, Janet here.
Hi.
I get an A for patience being on the phone. I couldn't get in to video, so I have absolutely no idea what you've been doing, but I've been doing my version of it, and I hope it's recorded so I can see what I missed.
It is recorded, and we will make it available so you can revisit and yes, you could do those with the feet up in the air. Did you hear that we had a Fortes moment?
I heard that. May I ask one question?
Please.
Because I couldn't get all the details, my experience was that this was a refinement of the arms and legs breathing.
Well, it's kind of, these are actually, there's a set of exercises from a book that,
Yep,
go through
got
every,
that.
that go through every joint in the body and move, and you move each joint in the body with your breath. And so I am sure that having done these exercises, helped me to create the arms and legs breathing. It seems like an obvious connection there.
Yeah.
But so it's not exactly a refinement. It may be more of a foundation. I don't know, maybe however you want to think about it.
Okay.
But I think that this you could make your I mean, you could do your arms and legs breathing like this as well. So
Okay.
but
Well, I'll
very
watch the video and see what I can catch on to.
Okay, super. Yes, and if
Thanks.
anybody has any questions, I believe I have office hours this week. Is that true, Tara? Well, it will say so on the website. And Tara will.
Sorry, I'm making dinner. Yes, that's true.
Thank you. All right. Well, I hope everybody has a great week and practice these. I encourage the purchase of this fantastic book and practice breathing.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.